You're watching Forsaken Joe. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy the story. Let's begin. The music was too loud, the laughter too fake, and the lights too warm for what was about to happen. I was standing by the balcony at the company party, pretending to enjoy the view of the city skyline, while my thoughts twisted like broken glass in my head. That's when I felt her hand reach for mine, soft, familiar, and suddenly unbearable. I didn't look at her. I didn't have to. The memory of what I'd seen 2 nights ago burned too brightly in my mind. Instead, I leaned closer and whispered, low enough that only she could hear, "Not after what you did." For a moment, the entire party seemed to vanish. No clinking glasses, no murmurs of colleagues gossiping behind designer suits. Just her sharp intake of breath, the silence between us, and the weight of a truth she didn't know I carried. The truth was, I hadn't planned to say it. I came here tonight thinking I'd smile, play the dutiful husband, and bury the storm clawing at my insides. But when she reached for me, like she always does when the cameras come out or when someone's watching, something inside me snapped. 2 nights ago, I found the message. Not just any message, but one that made my stomach turn cold. I wasn't looking for it. It was on our kitchen counter of all places, scribbled on the back of an invoice like a cruel joke. Friday night was worth every risk. No name, no details, just that. It wasn't her handwriting, and she'd gone to bed early that night with that same exhausted smile I'd started to hate. I didn't confront her then. I couldn't. Instead, I played detective in my own house, checking the trash, scrolling through receipts, memorizing the scent of her clothes like I'd find the answer there. And maybe I did, because last night I saw something I'll never unsee. Her car parked outside a small bar across town, the same place she told me she was meeting the girls for wine. Only there were no girls, just her, leaning too close to a man I'd never seen before, her hand resting on his arm like it belonged there. I watched them from my car, heart pounding like it was trying to escape my chest. She laughed in a way I hadn't heard in months, a laugh that used to be mine. It's funny, the things that break you. Not the big betrayals, but the tiny ones. The way she touched his sleeve, the way he leaned in to whisper something in her ear, the way she didn't look guilty at all. Tonight, as she stands beside me, her hand frozen midair after my whisper, I can feel the eyes of half the party on us. She's good at smiling through the cracks, but not this time. Not after those words. The moment the words left my lips, I felt the tension ripple through her. Mara froze, her fingers hovering near mine, as if touching me would burn her. For a split second, I thought she might laugh it off, twist my whisper into some playful remark for the colleagues standing nearby. But she didn't. Her smile faltered, and in that instant, I knew she understood exactly what I meant. The silence between us was heavier than the music thundering from the ballroom. She tilted her head slightly, like she was about to say something, but I turned away before she could. I couldn't look at her, not with all the images flashing in my head. Her hand on that man's arm, the way she leaned into him, her lips curling into that effortless grin I hadn't seen in months. A grin meant for someone else. The crowd around us went on laughing and chattering, but I felt like I was underwater, every sound muffled, every movement slowed down. I grabbed a drink from the bar and downed it too quickly, barely tasting the bitterness. My reflection in the mirrored wall behind the bartender looked like a stranger, tired eyes, clenched jaw, a man who'd spent weeks trying to pretend he wasn't falling apart. Mara followed me, of course, because that's what she does when she senses I'm slipping. She knows how to act concerned, how to make it seem like she's the perfect wife in front of everyone, but I couldn't stand her presence. Not now. "Dean!" she whispered sharply, her voice laced with that careful tone she uses when she's trying to control me without anyone noticing. "What's wrong with you? Why are you—" I cut her off with a laugh that wasn't really a laugh. "Wrong with me? That's rich. I didn't care who heard me. Maybe I wanted them to. Maybe I wanted someone to see the cracks in our little performance and realize that we weren't the perfect couple everyone thought we were." Her eyes flickered with something. Fear, maybe? Or guilt. She reached out again, as if touching me would fix everything, but I stepped back. The room felt too small, the walls too close. I needed air. I pushed past a group of coworkers who gave me curious looks, muttering something about feeling sick, and made my way to the terrace outside. The night air hit me like a slap. I gripped the railing, trying to steady my breathing. I wanted to scream, to demand why she did it, but all I could do was replay the moment I saw her with him outside that bar. The way she laughed like I'd stopped existing. the note on the invoice, the late nights, all the little lies she told so easily. Behind me, I heard the click of her heels. "Dean, stop! You're making a scene." Her voice was low but sharp, like a knife slicing through my thoughts. I turned around slowly, my hands trembling. "A scene? You think this is about a scene? Do you think I care about what any of them think?" My voice cracked, and I hated how weak I sounded. "I saw you, Mara. I saw everything." Her face paled. For the first time, she didn't have an answer. No quick excuse, no fake smile, just silence. And that silence told me more than any words ever could. Mara's silence cut deeper than any accusation could. For years, she had always known exactly what to say, how to turn every argument into my fault with just a few carefully chosen words. But now she stood there, framed by the dim lights from the terrace, her mouth slightly open, her eyes darting like someone searching for the nearest exit. It was the first time I'd ever seen her cornered, and I hated how much satisfaction that gave me. "You think I don't notice?" I said, my voice trembling, not with fear but with the sheer weight of everything I had held inside for months. "The way you look at me, Mara, like you're forcing yourself, like every kiss is just a performance. Do you know how pathetic that makes me feel?" I was shaking, clutching the railing behind me as if it was the only thing holding me together. A few people had stepped outside by now, some with cigarettes, some just to get away from the noise inside. They weren't close enough to hear every word, but I could tell they were watching us. And for once, I didn't care. Maybe I wanted them to see. Maybe I wanted her perfect image to shatter in front of them. She finally spoke, her voice so soft I almost didn't hear it over the muffled music from inside. "Dean, this isn't the place. We can talk about this later." That fake calm tone. It was like gasoline on my fire. "Later?" I snapped, my words sharper than I intended. "How many laters have we had, huh? How many nights have I sat at home wondering why my wife needs to work late 3 times a week? How many times have I told myself I'm just paranoid, only to see you smiling at some guy like I'm nothing but the boring idiot you married?" She flinched at that. Good. I wanted her to feel it. I wanted her to feel every ounce of the humiliation I had swallowed for months. I could see her eyes glisten, but I wasn't even sure if it was guilt or just frustration that I was ruining her carefully curated facade. "You don't know what you're talking about," she muttered, and I almost laughed. "Oh, I don't? Because I saw you, Mara, that bar on 5th Street, 2 nights ago. Do you want me to describe the way you were laughing with him, or the way you touched his arm like it was second nature?" Her face drained of color, and I knew I had her. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The world outside seemed to narrow to just her wide eyes and my hammering heartbeat. Then, out of nowhere, the balcony door opened, and someone stepped out. A man, tall, with dark hair slicked back. I didn't recognize him at first, but the second Mara's face shifted into that same nervous half-smile I'd seen in the car mirror 2 nights ago, I realized who he was. Him. The man from the bar. He froze when he saw us, like he'd walked into a room mid-explosion. I could feel my pulse pounding in my ears. "Dean, this is—" she started, but I cut her off, stepping forward so fast she flinched. "This is him, isn't it?" I said, pointing a finger at him like I'd just unmasked a criminal. The guy didn't say a word. His face was blank, but his eyes told me everything. He knew, and worse, he wasn't afraid of me. The tension was unbearable. People from inside the party had started to notice something was happening on the terrace. A couple of Mara's co-workers stood by the doorway, pretending not to watch, but failing miserably. Mara looked from me to him, like she was calculating her next move, but I didn't give her the chance. "Say something," I hissed. "Either of you. Say something that doesn't make me feel like I've wasted 4 years of my life on someone who doesn't even care if I'm breathing." The man finally spoke, his voice low and steady. "This isn't what you think." Those words, those cursed words, ignited something inside me I didn't know I had. I stepped forward, every muscle in my body tense, my fists clenched. "Then tell me," I said. "Because I saw you. I saw everything. And if I'm wrong, this is your one chance to make me believe it." The air on that terrace had turned heavy, like the whole city had stopped breathing to listen to us. Mara's hand hovered near her chest, her lips pressed together as if holding back a storm of excuses. The tall man, this stranger I'd only glimpsed under the neon glow of that bar, stood there, calm but rigid, like he was ready to fight or bolt at the first sign of trouble. And me? I felt like a rope pulled so tight that one more word would snap me in half. I wanted to yell, to demand every disgusting detail, but all I could manage was a shaky, "You've got 10 seconds before I lose it completely." Mara's coworkers had gathered near the glass doors, pretending they weren't watching, but their reflections in the window told a different story. I saw whispers, confused glances, and a few curious faces leaning in, probably praying for some drama to break up the monotony of their office small talk. I didn't care. Let them see. Let them watch our marriage bleed out right there on the rooftop. "Dean, please," Mara finally said, stepping toward me. Her voice cracked, not in that sweet, caring way, but in a tone that screamed desperation. "It's not like that. You don't understand what you saw." "Oh, so now I'm blind too?" I shot back, my voice sharper than I intended. "I saw you laughing with him. I saw the way you looked at him. When was the last time you looked at me like that, Mara? When was the last time you even noticed me in the room?" My words came out louder now, and I didn't care if the whole damn party could hear every syllable. I'd spent too many nights swallowing my pride, telling myself that maybe I was just imagining things. But there's nothing imaginary about seeing your wife's hand on another man's arm. The guy finally spoke again, his tone so calm it made my blood boil. "You're making a mistake. You don't know me, and you don't know the truth about what's going on here." His voice was steady, like someone who's used to talking his way out of messes. It made me want to punch him just to wipe that calm expression off his face. "Oh, I don't know you? You're right, I don't. But I know your type," I said, stepping closer. "I know the kind of man who doesn't think twice about stepping into someone else's marriage like it's a game. So tell me, are you just another piece of office gossip, or are you the reason my wife can't even look me in the eye anymore?" Mara tried to step between us, but I moved past her, my anger drowning out everything else. I wasn't the confrontational type. Everyone who knows me would tell you I'm the guy who avoids fights, who apologizes even when it's not his fault. But something inside me broke that night. Something snapped, and I didn't care if I looked pathetic or furious or both. I just wanted the truth, raw and ugly. "Dean, stop!" Mara shouted, her voice breaking through the noise in my head. Her eyes were wide now, brimming with something I couldn't quite place. Was it guilt? Or was she just scared that the man standing a foot away from me would spill secrets she wasn't ready to face? The tall man finally sighed and shook his head like he was about to reveal something. "This isn't your business," he said. "Not here, not now." The audacity of that sentence nearly sent me over the edge. Not my business? My marriage isn't my business? "Say that again," I said, stepping so close I could see the reflection of the terrace lights in his eyes. "Go ahead, I dare you. Tell me my life isn't my business." My fists clenched at my sides, trembling not from fear, but from the effort it took not to put him through the glass railing. And then, just as the tension hit its peak, something unexpected happened. One of Mara's colleagues, a woman I vaguely recognized from a company dinner, slid open the door and said loudly, "Is everything okay out here?" Her voice was polite, but her eyes told me she already knew the answer. Half the party had turned their attention toward the terrace now, their conversations replaced by a low, humming curiosity. I didn't answer, neither did Mara. The silence that followed was louder than anything I could have said. The question from Mara's coworker hung in the air, unanswered, like a knife balanced on its edge. My chest rose and fell with uneven breaths. Every nerve in my body coiled tight. Mara's lips parted as though she wanted to say something, but all that came out was a shaky exhale. I saw her glance at him, the stranger, like she was silently begging him to take control of the situation. That glance alone told me more than I wanted to know. It told me there was a story here, one I wasn't supposed to hear, and it made my stomach twist with a rage that tasted like metal. He shifted his weight, looking at Mara for a beat too long, before turning his gaze to me. His expression was unreadable, somewhere between annoyance and pity, and I hated him for both. "Dean," he said in a calm, measured voice, like he was talking to a skittish animal, "you're about to make a fool of yourself if you don't stop for 1 second and let me explain." My laugh came out hollow, bitter. "Explain? Oh, that's rich. Do I look like I'm dying for some office soap opera version of events? You think I care about your excuses? Because let me tell you, I've already seen enough to know exactly what's going on. I saw the way you looked at her. I saw the way she smiled back at you, like I was invisible. So go on, tell me your story. Let's see how good you are at lying." Mara tried to step in, but I was too far gone. I wanted the truth to hurt. I wanted him to squirm. But the man didn't flinch. He took a slow breath, and when he spoke, his voice carried a weight I hadn't expected. "It's not an affair," he said, his tone clipped but firm. "It's not what you think." I stared at him, my jaw tight. "Not an affair? That's your big defense?" I shot back. "So what? I'm supposed to believe you two just meet up at bars late at night for a friendly chat. That note I found Friday night was worth every risk. Was that just some corporate team-building exercise?" His eyes flickered for a moment, something sharp, almost regretful, before he said, "That note wasn't for her. It was for me. From someone you don't know. And that bar? I wasn't meeting her. She came there to find me." I felt my stomach drop. None of this made sense. I turned to Mara, but she just stood there, her eyes downcast, like she was silently bracing for a blow. "What the hell does that even mean?" I asked, my voice quieter now, though no less raw. "Find you? Why? Why can't anyone in this marriage just tell me the truth?" The stranger ran a hand through his hair, exhaling slowly, as if this was as exhausting for him as it was for me. "Because it's complicated," he said. "And because you're about to drag all of this out in front of her coworkers and make it a bigger mess than it needs to be. You deserve an explanation, I'll give you that, but not here. Not like this." For a moment, I just stood there, trying to process the words. Part of me wanted to grab him by the collar and force the truth out of him, right there on the terrace for everyone to see. But another part, an exhausted, broken part of me, knew he was right. This wasn't the place. I could feel the eyes of half the party burning into my back through the glass doors. Some people had already taken out their phones, pretending to check messages, but clearly watching the drama unfold like a live show. Mara reached for me again, and I didn't pull away this time. Not because I forgave her, but because I was too numb to care. "Dean," she said softly, "please, let's just go home. I promise I'll tell you everything." Her voice cracked on the word everything, and for the first time all night, I saw fear in her eyes. Not the kind that comes from being caught, but something deeper, something I couldn't name. I didn't answer. I just turned and walked through the crowd, their curious stares following me all the way to the elevator. Mara trailed behind, quiet, while the stranger stayed on the terrace, watching us leave like he wasn't done with me yet. The ride home was silent. My thoughts screamed, my chest burned, but neither of us spoke. I didn't want to hear her excuses. I didn't want to hear anything. When we got inside, she went straight to the kitchen, poured herself a glass of water, and sat down at the table. "Dean," she started, her voice trembling, "what you saw, it's not what you think, but I don't know if you're ready to hear what it really is." And that was when I realized something terrifying. I wasn't sure I was ready either. When Mara finally spoke, her voice carried a strange mix of fear and resignation, like someone who knew the truth would destroy the last thin layer of normality between us. I sat across from her at the kitchen table, my hands gripping the edge of the chair so tightly my knuckles turned white. The silence in the house felt unnatural, heavier than anything I'd ever experienced. Outside, the streetlights hummed faintly, and somewhere down the block, a car door slammed. But in here, the world had narrowed to just her trembling hands and my pounding heartbeat. "Dean," she said, avoiding my eyes, "before I tell you anything, you need to promise me you'll just listen. Not jump to conclusions. Not tonight." I let out a hollow laugh. "Listen? After what I've seen, after months of feeling like I've been living with a stranger, you want me to just sit here and listen? You're lucky I'm not walking out the door right now." My voice cracked, and I hated the weakness in it. I wanted to be angry, but all I felt was tired. Tired of guessing, tired of pretending, tired of trying to piece together a puzzle that seemed to get uglier every time I flipped over a new piece. She didn't flinch. Instead, she leaned forward, elbows on the table, as if bracing herself for impact. "That man you saw, his name is Colin. He's not what you think. He's not..." She paused, taking a shaky breath. "He's not my lover. He's my brother." I blinked at her, stunned into silence. "You're... what?" The words came out flat, like my brain refused to process them. "You don't have a brother, Mara. You told me that on our second date. You said your parents only had you." Her jaw tightened. "That's what I wanted you to believe. I cut ties with him years ago, for good reasons. But he showed up out of nowhere 3 months ago, and I've been trying to handle it without dragging you into it." She rubbed her temples like this was all too much for her. which made me want to scream. Too much for her? I was the one sitting here feeling like my entire marriage had been one long, elaborate performance. Handle what? I demanded, leaning forward now. What the hell does that even mean, Mara? If this guy's your brother, why the secrecy? Why the late-night texts, the bar meetings, the stupid notes about risks? What is this? Some family drama you couldn't bother to tell me about? Her eyes welled up, but she didn't look away this time. Because Colin isn't just my brother. He's trouble, Dean. Real trouble. He's been in and out of things I can't even talk about without making it worse. When he showed up, he begged me for money, said people were after him, that he'd messed up with the wrong kind of people. I didn't want you to know because I knew you'd see it as a betrayal, and maybe it is, but I was trying to protect you. I stared at her, my mind spinning. Part of me wanted to believe her. It sounded insane, but not impossible. Mara had always been private about her past, and I never pressed her too hard. But then I remembered the way she smiled at Colin, the way her body language screamed familiarity that didn't look like fear. It looked like something else, something I couldn't explain. Protect me? I repeated, my voice low. You've been sneaking around for months, lying to my face, and you're telling me this is all about protecting me? Do you have any idea how insane that sounds? You could have just told me the truth, Mara. You could have trusted me. Her face crumpled, and for a moment I thought she might break down, but she didn't. Instead, she said something that made my blood run cold. Dean, I didn't tell you because I didn't know if I could trust you. Those words hit me harder than anything else she'd said all night. I sat back in my chair, stunned. You didn't trust me? I whispered, my voice shaking. After everything? After the years I've stood by you, even when I didn't understand why you were pulling away from me? Her voice softened. It's not about you. It's about him. If you knew half the things Colin's done, you wouldn't want to be anywhere near this mess. I thought I could fix it, handle it quietly, but tonight, when you saw him at the party, she trailed off, staring at her glass of water like it might offer her an escape. I think he's in more trouble than I realized, and now I'm scared we're both caught in it. I didn't know what to say. My anger hadn't vanished, but now it was tangled with confusion, fear, and a creeping sense that something far bigger was unfolding here. Something that wasn't just about us. I barely slept that night. Mara's words echoed through my head on a relentless loop. He's my brother. I didn't know if I could trust you. We're both caught in it. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that man, Colin, standing on the terrace with that infuriatingly calm face, like he was in control of a game I didn't even know I was playing. The anger was still there, but now it was mixed with something darker, heavier, a gnawing fear that maybe Mara wasn't exaggerating about the kind of trouble she was in. And if that was true, then I wasn't just the clueless husband anymore. I was collateral damage. By morning, I couldn't take the silence anymore. Mara was still asleep when I slipped out of bed, grabbed my keys, and drove to the address I'd memorized from her text history. I hated myself for snooping through her phone while she showered last week. But right now, I was grateful for every shred of information I'd gathered. If Colin was really her brother, and if he was really in some kind of danger, I needed answers straight from him. No more whispered excuses. No more half-truths. The address led me to a rundown building on the edge of town. The kind of place where the paint peels off the walls and every window looks like it's seen something it shouldn't have. My stomach tightened as I parked the car, but I forced myself to get out. I knocked on the door of Unit 3B, half expecting no one to answer. Instead, the door swung open, and there he was, Colin, wearing the same smug expression he'd had at the party. "You really don't give up, do you?" he said, leaning against the doorframe like he'd been expecting me. "I want the truth," I said, my voice low and tight. "You've been sneaking around with my wife, and if you think I'm going to just sit back while you drag her into whatever mess you're in, you're wrong." He laughed, not the kind of laugh that's amused, but the kind that says you have no idea what you're walking into. He stepped aside, motioning for me to come in. "You think this is about your marriage? You really have no idea, do you? Sit down, Dean. You might want to hear this before you decide you hate me." I hesitated for a moment, then walked into the small, cluttered apartment. The place smelled like stale smoke and fear. If fear had a smell, it would be this. He closed the door behind me, and I noticed the locks. 3 of them, heavy and scratched like they'd been tested before. "You've got 5 minutes," I said, crossing my arms. "Start talking." Colin leaned against the counter, his expression hardening. Your wife is smarter than you give her credit for. She didn't tell you about me because she knew you'd do exactly what you're doing now. Storm in here, act like you're in control. But here's the truth. Mara's been trying to clean up my mess before it gets both of you hurt. And if you think this is just about some family drama, you're dead wrong. I clench my fists. What kind of mess are we talking about? Because all I see is a guy who's too comfortable getting close to someone else's wife. His eyes narrowed. You think I want to involve her? Dean, I'm in trouble with people who don't care about your marriage, your house, or your feelings. These aren't guys you can just call the cops on. They know where I've been, who I talk to, and if they find out about you, about Mara, they won't think twice about using you both. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I wanted to call his bluff, but there was something in his tone, an edge of desperation, that made me believe him. Still, my anger refused to fade. If this is true, why the secrecy? Why the smiles? Why does it look like you're enjoying this? He sighed, rubbing his temples like he'd been waiting for this question. Because I know how it looks, and honestly, part of me wanted you to see it, to force Mara to tell you everything. She thinks she can keep you safe by keeping you in the dark. But now that you know, you're already part of this. I stared at him, my chest tight, my mind racing. What do they want from you? I asked quietly. His eyes locked on mine, and for the first time, I saw something raw there. Fear, money, information, and now, they think I can get something from Mara's company. Something worth a hell of a lot more than cash. I told her I'd handle it, but the truth is, I can't. I'm running out of time, Dean. And if I don't give them what they want, they'll come looking. For me, for her, maybe even for you. The room felt like it was closing in on me. I had walked in expecting to confront a cheating scandal, but what I got was a ticking time bomb. And the worst part, I didn't know if Colin was lying or if I'd just stumbled into something far more dangerous than a broken marriage. I left Colin's apartment that night with 100 questions and a pounding heart. But for the first time in weeks, I felt something that resembled clarity. He might have been reckless and secretive, but the fear in his voice wasn't fake. I could see it in his eyes. This wasn't about Mara betraying me. This was about a man tangled up in something much bigger than himself. And Mara, being who she is, tried to carry that weight alone. It didn't excuse the lies, but suddenly I understood why she kept me in the dark. When I walked back into our house, Mara was sitting on the couch with her knees pulled up, like she'd been frozen there waiting for me. Her eyes widened when she saw me, and for once there was no defensive wall, no carefully curated calm, just raw, messy fear. Dean, she whispered, please tell me you didn't go to him. I did, I said, and I'm glad I did, because now I know everything. I sat down next to her, not close enough to touch, but close enough to let her feel that I wasn't running anymore. Mara, I should hate you for lying to me. I should, but I can't. Because I can see now that you were trying to protect me from something that scares even you. She covered her face with her hands, letting out a shaky breath. I didn't want this to touch you. I thought I could fix it without dragging you through the mess, but I've made everything worse, haven't I? I took her hands away from her face and held them tightly, maybe tighter than I should have. Number. You made me feel like I didn't matter, like you didn't trust me, and that hurt. But if we're going to make it through this, if we're going to survive whatever's coming, we need to stop lying to each other. I don't care if it's messy. I'd rather know the ugly truth than live in the dark. Tears slipped down her cheeks as she nodded. I don't deserve you, she whispered. Maybe not, I said with a bitter laugh. But I'm stubborn, and I'm not letting go. Over the next few days, Mara and I worked together to untangle the chaos Colin had dragged into her life. It wasn't easy. There were calls made to lawyers, some tense meetings with people I'd never thought I'd sit across from, and more sleepless nights than I can count. But something strange happened during that time. We started talking again. Really talking. Not the shallow, how was your day stuff, but honest, gut-wrenching conversations about trust, fear, and the things we'd both been too scared to say for years. Colin eventually left town, promising to handle his problems far away from us. I don't know if I'll ever like the guy, but I can't bring myself to hate him anymore. Without his mess, I might never have seen just how fragile and precious my marriage really was. A month later, Mara and I went for a drive on a quiet Sunday morning, just the two of us. No phones, no distractions. Somewhere along the highway, with the windows rolled down and her hand resting in mine, she said softly, I thought I'd lost you that night on the terrace. You almost did, I admitted. But maybe we needed to break before we could rebuild. And that's exactly what we did. Slowly, painfully, but with more honesty than we'd ever had before, we began to rebuild. Not the fake smiles or the polished version of us we showed to the world, but the real thing, the messy, imperfect love that had brought us together in the first place. For the first time in a long time, I believe we're going to make it. Not because it's easy, but because we're both finally willing to fight for it.